Kojima's gone out of Konami, but apparently they're going to continue the Metal Gear Solid series. At least that's the rumor. Let's see if it's true. As many of you may or may not know, I'm a pretty big fan of the Metal Gear Solid series. I've been a follower of the Metal Gear series in general since, well, even back when it was on the original NES. And even though the NES release wasn't the best game in the world, it was a game that I kind of liked a lot at the time, and when I started to play the newer entries into the series, like Metal Gear Solid, I started to get really hooked into the universe and the world of that franchise. I went back and played Metal Gear 1 and 2 on the MSX using emulators, and then eventually started playing a whole range of Metal Gear games. It was a very big thing for me. Now, one thing that's been kind of rumored about for the new E3 releases is that there may be some announcements abroad about brand new Metal Gear games. Now, first off, let me just kill this one right in the water. I don't believe Konami is going to be announcing any brand new Metal Gear continuations of the series, but what they might do is take some of the older games and bring them forward. And here's what's been rumored. Back in 2011, Konami released the Metal Gear Solid HD collection on the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360. This collection included Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, and Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, which initially was a PSP-only release. And along with that, if you really do consider it, Metal Gear Solid 3 also included the Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 releases on the MSX that were re-released and remastered for this release. Now, all this stuff was done in a new, higher resolution and in widescreen and a whole bunch of other fun stuff that the initial game didn't actually have. So to see this collection was very important for a lot of gamers, and it was something I was very much looking forward to. In fact, I actually think I bought it on every platform I owned at the time, which was a bit ridiculous, but I did do it, so there's that. A little while later, they did release Metal Gear Solid HD collection on the PlayStation Vita, but they just took out Peace Walker because Peace Walker was still a standalone PSP experience, so there really wasn't any reason to remaster that when you could download it digitally on your PlayStation Vita. Now, all that taken into consideration, that means that we've actually seen these games in a portable way before. But the rumor right now is that the Metal Gear Solid HD collection is gonna come to the Switch. Now, personally, I'm pretty excited about this. I really want to see the Metal Gear series released on as many platforms as possible, and seeing it come to the Switch would be a pretty big deal, but I think why everyone might be a little bit hesitant about kind of enjoying this is that, well, Hideo Kojima, the original series creator, no longer works at Konami, and they had some bad blood a little while ago, at least from what we could tell from the outside world, so we probably wouldn't be too happy as fans of his work to see this game get released without his say-so or his approval. Now, at the end of the day, I care more about these games getting released again and again and again because I think it's very important to keep older games remastered and redistributed in the industry because, well, that's very important. I think they're going to be bringing the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 version of this game over to the Switch if they bring it over at all. I very much doubt they're going to be bringing the Vita version over because, well, that version is technically inferior compared to the ones that you actually saw in the home console releases of the same time period. So that's why I think it's going to go in that direction. However, there's another rumor kind of going around that I think is just a little bit more exciting, but a little bit more crazy too. Now, for those of you out there that don't know enough about Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, I consider it to be the best Metal Gear game. I do like Metal Gear Solid a lot, but every time I think about the characters and the world building, Metal Gear Solid 3 really establishes everything because it takes place before all the other games. Now, with that being said, well, it's kind of weird to say this, but we've actually seen a variation of this game get released again in the most unlikely of scenarios. At one point or another, Konami decided to take the Metal Gear Solid 3 game and remaster it with the Fox engine that was made for Metal Gear Solid 5 and turn it into a pachinko game. Which is a real thing. We're showing footage of that right here so you can see it. This is crazy because you don't actually get to play a pachinko game the way you would play a normal game on a console. For those of you that don't know, pachinko is essentially kind of like really dumb pinball, and it's for stupid people to play. And I'm sorry if you enjoy pachinko, but you're a part of the problem, not the solution. Now, Metal Gear Solid 3 being a pachinko game is outwards insanity, but I guess they wanted to use that whole forum so that they could get a bunch of people out there to actually spend their money on playing this game. Regardless, whatever the reasons were, they did apparently use that brand new engine to make all these cutscenes look a lot better. With that being said, the rumor was that they were actually making a full-on Metal Gear Solid 3 remaster utilizing the Metal Gear Solid 5 engine, which a lot of people out there would be super excited to see. Upon Konami actually firing Kojima or whatever the transaction was that happened there, they decided to stop development of the game. At least that was the apparent move there. What apparently might be happening at this E3 is that Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater remastered, redefined, or whatever you're going to call it with that new Foxhound engine is actually going to be released on the PlayStation 4, or at least announced at the Sony conference. Now folks, this brings up a big debate. Do we, as fans of the Metal Gear series, care that Kojima is no longer a part of Konami to basically guide this game going forward? Or, as fans of the Metal Gear series, do we just love this thing? This has brought a lot of weird feelings for me because one, this is still a rumor. We don't know if this is going to be true. But if it ends up being true, I personally think I'm going to be excited. And I'm going to be excited for a couple of reasons. One, I do love the Metal Gear series, and to see it continue in this way means that we might see the original Metal Gear Solid game get remastered, even though that already happened once, but seeing it get remastered again wouldn't hurt anybody. I would love to see other people kind of have a try at making Metal Gear games, because some of my favorite Metal Gear games out there weren't actually made by Konami directly with Kojima. They were actually made by Konami with other developers, like Metal Gear Solid Ghost Babel on the Game Boy, and even Metal Gear Acid 1 and 2 on the PSP, which were two games that don't have any right to be as good as they are. Now, with all that being said, as a fan, I don't like the idea that Kojima isn't going to be involved with this thing, but to have Konami move the series forward means that as a fan of the series, I can experience it again in new and different ways. And maybe there's a director out there still working at Konami that has a great idea to make the franchise good again. But then, I remember how much I hate Konami. Konami is a terrible company that makes terrible choices pretty much every single day. And yes, there's a whole bunch of people out there that praise Konami for being able to keep their business afloat, but when you have all these amazing IPs and you're willing to destroy them again and again for a quick buck, that's a stupid move. And even though Konami nowadays focuses more on their gyms and their gambling business and even the resorts and all that other crazy crap that they do, I like to see a company that kind of respects everything that they actually are involved in. You know, Disney. Disney has theme parks, Disney has movies, Disney has video games, and even though they screw up here and there with a couple of the franchises, they manage to keep everything kind of flowing. But Konami just basically doesn't care. I don't even know who it is that's at the top of the company that basically makes all these choices, but they seem to really screw up again and again with every single game that they try to bring to a platform. Metal Gear Solid did return with Metal Gear Solid Survive after Kojima left, but that's something that I really wasn't too happy to play, because I didn't want to try it out. I had no idea what they were actually trying to do with it, but all I could tell from the outside in was that all they did was take the Metal Gear Solid 5 engine and warp it to turn it into some kind of zombie survival game, which just looks stupid. Now look folks, I get it. If you're a fan of Kojima like I am, you probably don't want to see the Metal Gear Solid series ever touched again, but Konami will be doing that. And as fans of the series, we can either choose to support it or choose not to support it. But if they're willing to respect the franchise and find some people that are willing to take the franchise in whole new interesting ways and make the story good again, maybe we can be okay with it. But until I see exactly what they've done with this, until then, I hate Konami, and I still probably will tomorrow.